fourth season premiere of the Stadium Journey podcast. Can you believe it? 4 years. We're proud to be part of the VOC Nation Radio Network. And if you can't get enough of Stadium Journey after the show, head on over to our website, stadiumjourney.com, where you'll find over 2,500 stadium reviews, news items, and so much more. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like us, follow us, do all that stuff. And now that we're in our fourth season, you might feel an urge to check out our old episodes. It's easy to do. Just type in VOC Nation Radio Network into whatever podcast search app you use, or go to the Stadium Journey website, look under the podcast tab on the main menu, and all of our old video podcasts are on the Stadium Journey YouTube channel. We're everywhere, man. And we also stream live on twitch.tv/danlaw83. Welcome to anyone who's watching there right now. Don't be afraid to participate in the show tonight. And we also have a new Patreon page full of perks for our patrons. Check out the list of rewards available. If you give us enough money, you might even be a guest on the podcast.
Please
our guest tonight did not give us any money, though, so we worked the other way. And now, real quick, here is our starting lineup. We've got Dave Cotney with us, as always. Follow him at ProFan9. Mark Viquez can be found at Ballpark Hunter. Our producer, the above-average comedian, Dan Calachico, is online at DanLaw83. And I'm Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI. And, you know, guys, we've had a lot of guests come on this podcast in our first 3 seasons. We've had broadcasters, we've had writers on the show, we've had fellow travelers, we even had a team owner. But tonight, for the first time, we're being joined by an active player. So everybody, please join me in welcoming to the show from the 2020 Major League Lacrosse Champion Boston Cannons, goaltender Nick Marrocco. Nick, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Happy to be on here.
Hey, and first of all, you know, congratulations on the championship. And I want to personally thank you as a Boston sports fan for ending our long championship drought that we had.
I know, right? It was too long, way too long. But that was good feeling. Good feeling.
So I guess we've been talking for, yeah, you guys are all laughing. Long championship drought, bite me.
Not saying a word. I'm not here.
We've been talking a lot about the way sports have been handling the pandemic and how, you know, different methods that they've been using. Now, the MLL, Nick, I think our listeners know, you guys did your own version of a bubble back in, what was it, June or July now?
Yeah, July.
Everything is blending together. I don't even remember what month it was. Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to be inside the bubble?
Yeah, so we basically did essentially a two-week tournament-style season where we were all in Annapolis, Maryland, and we basically had like a 3-day mini camp where we got to, you know, practice, get the team together. Everyone had to get tested before. When we got there, everyone had their own room. We basically had shuttles from the hotel to the stadium and back, and that was basically all we were able to go to. They had meals for us every day, and other than that, it was just prepping for each and every game. We essentially had a game a day or a game every other day, so it was a grind. We were pretty exhausted. I'm a goalie, so I got beat up pretty bad a couple games. But no, it was a weird scenario where, you know, you had to be smart about, you weren't supposed to be too close to people, but you were also, you know, trying to just focus on actually playing lacrosse, which was, you know, it was tough not to get distracted. But, you know, ultimately it was worth it. But I don't know if I'd want to do something like that again. You know, we had one guy who ended up having to, right when we won, he went right into the cold tub, had to throw an IV in him because he was so dehydrated. It was 120 degrees on turf. So it was an interesting scenario, to say the least.
Wow, and that was only a 2-week bubble. I can't imagine what the guys in the NHL and the NBA and the WNBA just went through, because they were in their bubble for months.
Yeah, that's I can't. I mean, lucky for them, they get a little break here and there, but it's different. I mean, being really confined to one space where you're not really supposed to socialize too much with people. Not the easiest thing to do, especially someone like me where my ADD kicks in pretty quick. So, yeah, it was not ideal, but, you know, we all really just had the same goal in mind. So, you know, you just kind of got to focus up, deal with the stress, grind through it, and, you know, just try to make things happen when you get on the field and have a little fun.
Okay, I actually have a question because you mentioned ADD because I'm going to relate to you for a second. Not on the athlete part because I haven't been 18 in a long time. The ADD thing because I've not been in a bubble, but I've been at home because most of my work is dried up with obvious reasons. In a bubble, because I have what I need, right? So with my ADD, I can do like 6 things at once and keep going. How do you deal with? I'm very serious now. How do you deal? How do you preoccupy your time and not go crazy with the attention deficit when you're scatterbrained doing something, and then play a game? Like, what do you do? How do you prepare yourself? I couldn't imagine that just on that basic level.
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of tough. We didn't have a ton of downtime, which was a good thing. We were either, you know, going to meetings, watching film, going out and, you know, doing a walkthrough, a quote unquote practice, which ended up not really being much because we had a rest. So luckily there was not too much downtime, but when there was, it was not the easiest thing. I tried to watch as much TV as I could to stay preoccupied, but no, it wasn't the most fun scenario ever. But the stress levels were high anyway, just playing that many games and you know, every game mattered. So if you lost one game, you potentially wouldn't make it to the championship game. So I think my mind was just really focused at that point, which is unique for me.
How often did you have to go through testing, Nick?
Essentially, we just got tested right before we got there. And then when we got there, everyone got they just did temperature checks basically twice a day, and then before practice, before games, and just kept everyone in the same area where you go on the shuttle, go to the hotel, go to your room, grab food, and repeat.
Wow, that's Groundhog Day for sure. You know, you were talking about the bubble and having to stay confined, and it was like 110 degrees that week that you guys were playing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and geez, having to keep because I've got to take my temperature every day before I go to work. But yeah, if it's 110 degrees outside, how are you going to keep your temperature under 99.9?
I know. I was honestly pretty confused by that too when they told us what the deal was, but apparently it's pretty tough for it to go above, just due to heat. So I guess they had that figured out. And the guy who was dealing with all the COVID protocols actually did a really good job of making sure everything was in check. So it wasn't too bad. But yeah, it was a unique situation. You know, having to wear masks everywhere, and you know, we haven't seen our teammates for months. So it was, you know, right when you get there, you want to just go all hang out. But yeah, we did our hangout after the win. So
or I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus, but even with all these precautions and everything, somebody managed to get a positive COVID test in there, right? Right
Yep.
before the semifinals.
Yeah.
How did that?
That was.
I know it was the hometown team that ended up being positive. Maybe somebody was out at home with their people or something. But it worked out well for the Cannons because you guys got bumped from the semifinals right to the finals. So how did they present all this to you guys?
It was wild. Basically, I mean, we found out what the situation was. Someone tested positive. So, I mean, we were kind of just focusing on throughout the week what our guys were doing. So, I mean, I knew for a fact that none of us had left the whatever you want to call it, facility. And everyone was being pretty smart about it. But, I mean, somehow someone ended up testing positive, which wasn't great. And obviously that was potentially going to impact everyone. So stress levels were through the roof. While we figured out what the next steps were, everyone got tested. Barely anyone tested positive after that, which was a good thing. And then those two teams chose not to play that semifinal. So it ended up being us and Denver, but Denver was the number 1 seed at that point. So, it was different, but at the end of the day, we were playing what was recognized at that point as the top team in the league right then. So we didn't really let it affect us too much. Kind of just did our thing, focused on us, went out, had fun, try to ball out as much as we can, and just ultimately want to win. So, but it was definitely 24 hours was crazy. It was crazy, and we try to not be too distracted though.
I mean, just watching. I got you in a second, Dave. Just watching what the NFL is going through right now, and just thinking about the other leagues, I couldn't imagine if something like that had happened, say in the Stanley Cup Finals or something. I don't think they would have had the guts to handle it the same way and say, "All right, you guys are out."
I know it's a tough decision because obviously no one has dealt with anything like this in general in life. What we're going through here, so there's no really, you can't have a perfect game plan going into it. It's not like something like this has happened exactly before, so you kind of have to deal with what's thrown at you. And I guess that's just what we did. And different sports have different ways of going about it, and what they chose to do in their respective seasons. And things weren't perfect, but you just kind of gotta grind through it. And I think the league overall did a good job of trying to make do with what we had, and having a season in general was a good thing.
Dave, you had something?
Yeah. So the finals, a super exciting game, and the narrative going through the finals was actually really not much to do with Boston. If I followed it correctly, it was having to do with pretty much the final game of a lacrosse legend. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, you stopped John Grant Jr. on the doorstep with like a minute left or something like that. Do I have that right?
I think so, around there.
So what's it like? John Grant into our lacrosse conversations, Dave. You never fail, man.
He's a legend. What can I say?
Absolutely.
So how does it feel to retire a legend?
Yeah, I mean, it was wild. He's obviously one of if not the best player to play the game, and him competing at that level at his age, and doing it at high levels, it was crazy. And he's a really good leader out there. Obviously, part of the time he's like coaching, and then he's playing, and he just has so much knowledge for the game, which is just it's tough to go against. And I just try to focus and make the big saves when I can. And he's such a competitor where I could tell it was getting under his skin a little bit. And so I just I like the inside saves. I'll say that when it's on the crease, I'm fairly solid at those ones, and I try to steal at least a couple of those a game. And it happened to be against John Grant Jr., so it was a nice little add on to it. And after that last one I felt pretty comfortable and that we were going to win the game there, and their team was getting pretty pissed off. So it kind of just gave us momentum, and our offense, ended up balling out and taking the lead for us, which was sweet. But no, that dude's a competitor, and it's crazy playing against someone like him.
And isn't he like the didn't he go to your school, Paul? Isn't he like the offensive
John
coordinator
Grant?
or something? Or
Oh, yeah, as a coach, yeah.
yeah, as a coach, yeah.
Yep, he's now the offensive coordinator at Hopkins. So.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's
That's
return to prominence.
So you're probably not familiar, but we have this raging debate, basically between Paul and I. I think it's Mark and Paul and Dan, or Mark and Dan.
It's all you guys against me if you're talking about what I think.
Oh, box lacrosse.
Nick, I'm glad to have you here because you're kind of evening out the field a little.
Whoa, no, don't bring me into this with the professional here. I'm not getting into it with him.
So actually, here's you could talk about why you think field is better than box later, but here's really the biggest question that I have about the real differences. So in box lacrosse, the goaltenders look like they're about 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide, and they have about 40,000 pounds of equipment on.
They look like the Michelin Man, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys in the field have nothing. What's up with that? So, like, how freaky is it to have that ball whizzing at you and basically, well, tell me, like, what kind of difference in equipment do you have from the regular guys?
Hold on, I want
obviously the stick, but
hold on, Dave. I want him to finish what he was going to say before you finish because he's like this weird.
I probably shouldn't finish what I was going to say.
All right, fair enough.
So I'll answer. Yeah. No, I can't. I won't say what I was going to say.
That's all right.
I'll get some backlash on Twitter or something. Yeah. No,
so I'm guessing it either has to do with a part of the anatomy you have, or.
No.
No, I'm not going to go, Joe. I'm not going.
No. Let him go. Let him go. Censor.
No, the box goalies, they have a ton of gear, obviously. Field goalies just have chest protector, cup, helmet, gloves, stick, cleats. That's basically it. I mean, if you're wearing shin pads as a field goalie, it's probably not going to work out. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it by now, honestly. Inner thigh doesn't feel good, still doesn't feel good. But, like, knees, when I get hit in the legs and arms, doesn't really hurt much anymore. I probably have some messed up shins. But I think it's more fun. You can be a little more athletic out there. I like to play out of the cage and run it up when I can. So that suits me well. I could never play box goalie. I think I tried it once just for fun, and I did not like it. So I didn't try it again. So I guess guys love it though when they're playing. It's just it's not my thing.
Well, we had when we had a team up here, the Hamilton Nationals, and they had a goalie, Brett Queener, and every time that dude got the ball, he'd run like 40 yards.
Yeah, right? He's a beast. He scored all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he could do it. Now you see some of those box guys run into the bench, and it's like you're waiting for like the Benny Hill music to be going on. Like it's funny watching those guys. And what's even funnier is if you see them like at the beginning of a game or whatever, and they don't have like the big shoulder pads on or whatever, and you're like, wait a second, this dude's just like a regular sized dude. He's not 476 pounds.
That's not true, Dave. The two goalies for the Black Wolves, when I went to a game, I saw them before the game. They were both my size. And then yeah, it was incredible.
They're like hockey goalies now.
Yeah, where do you find the daylight to get it past the goalie in box slacks? I don't know.
It's tough. I mean, it's a pretty cool game too. I mean, it's totally different from field, which is a little bizarre, but no, it's cool if you're a field player. And the goalies love it, but I don't know. It's a different game. We have a lot of box guys on our team though who will play both indoor and outdoor. A lot of the Canadians, and they're ridiculously skilled. So it does translate on the field level.
Yeah, I guess that can be said for outdoor soccer. I mean, soccer and indoor soccer.
Right.
I'm sure you don't see too many guys playing indoor soccer anywhere. I mean, I think Landon Donovan played for the San Diego Sockers last season or the season prior. That's the only person I could think of.
Right.
All right, so I guess is this where we start to get into a little bit of deep issues here, Nick? And again, we're not going to try to put you on the spot or anything.
Yep.
What do you think about the moves the MLL made during the last? Let me back away from the camera a little bit. Made over the last offseason, where they moved from the franchise model, where every team was being owned independently, to a league model. As a player, from a player's perspective, have you noticed any difference yet?
I think it made sense looking at it when it was all happening, just to have a little more uniform. How do I word it? Just to make sure that the everything was fair between each team as far as resources and everything. And I think they're still working to get the all that in tune, and because different markets just they do a little better. Boston gets a lot more fans naturally than like Atlanta was gonna. So it was tough in that respect. So I think it made sense the way they moved it. And as far as ownership level, I mean, as player, you don't really see that as much. You're not really dealing with the owners directly. So on that part of it, I guess we haven't really seen a huge difference yet. But I think moving forward, it's going to be big for the league to grow and get more teams. And I think they're planning on a couple more teams in the next few years. So that was just a step that needed to happen. I think a lot of it had to do with voting between when they were deciding on TV deals and all that fun stuff.
Sure. I mean, it might be the wrong time to ask that because this season was really so atypical. But yeah, big changes for the future for the league. Dave, you got your hand?
So how did you find the difference moving from college lacrosse up to the pros?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't for a while. I didn't when I was getting ready to play. I didn't think there was going to be a huge difference, just because I played against a lot of the guys before. But when I started playing, it was pretty crazy. Just because typically, when you're playing college, although there's a ton of talented players, you could scout certain ones on each team that were going to be more of a threat to score than others. Some were like strictly feeders. Some, didn't have the hardest shot. So you were able to scout and kind of gear your game plan in college towards a specific player. But at the pro level, it's just tough because you can't. Pretty much every offensive guy can sling it. They can pretty much put it wherever they want. And if you focus on one player only and try to gear your game plan around them, it's just going to open up way too much stuff for other guys to get opportunities to score goals. And now that's the biggest thing. Everyone can shoot. Everyone can feed. So as a goalie, you got to be on your game 24/7. And I think that was the biggest thing, the toughest thing when I first started playing. And I had a guy, Tyler Fiorito, who was the goalie before. He was really helpful for me just to get a better understanding of how the pro game works. It's a lot faster, and so he was really helpful in that aspect of it.
Nice. Mark, you had something?
Well, I guess my question is, being a professional lacrosse player, obviously, how much of your life is dedicated to playing for Boston, and what do you do during the off season? Is there anything else you offset your income, or does pro lacrosse pay the bills full time?
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, I wish pro lacrosse paid the bills full time. If I was making a cool $1 million a year, that'd be pretty sweet. But it's still a growing game, obviously. Definitely. No, it doesn't. But I work in real estate outside of playing for the Cannons, and then me and Sean Quirk just started a company called Peak Pro, make lacrosse shafts, apparel. So I'm doing a few different things. I like the entrepreneurship side of business. So
being your own boss, definitely.
I'm doing quite a bit here and there and trying to stay busy. Yeah, that's a nice thing for sure.
So when do you report back? How much time do you spend with the Boston franchise? How much of that takes away from your other interest? Like how many months, I guess, would be the question, obviously.
So off season, a lot of it's on our own. Our training, some ideas as we should do right after the season to kind of recoup and get our bodies right. And then typically, we have guys from Canada, all over the U.S. And so different guys have different trainers, blah, blah, blah. So training is on our own pretty much for the most part. And then we'll typically, this year probably not going to happen because of COVID, but we'll typically have a February scrimmage. We'll scrimmage like a college team in February, just to get a little tune up, and then is it usually in May or June, April or May? We'll get together for a few weekends leading up to the season and do a mini camp, which is Saturday and Sunday all day playing for those weeks leading up, and then starting in June through August or September. That's typically where every weekend is dedicated to playing. And then during the week, we have some guys in market here in Boston, so we'll get together and put in some work. But obviously everyone's not here, so during the week, a lot of it is on your own, but we do Zoom calls and stuff to make sure we're going over scouting plans and film and all that good stuff too. So it's it's unique. It's a unique sport.
It's probably sort of like with
prepare. That was probably a big.
It's probably like what the NFL was, in the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Everybody had second jobs. The neighborhood knew who you were, especially, in a small market such as Baltimore.
Right.
You weren't making millions of dollars or that much more than the average person. So, and I know from my experience, pro lacrosse players have been one of the most friendliest athletes I've interviewed. They've always given me a chance to talk to them, and they've been more than accommodating with any questions I have. So, much better than some minor league baseball players who like, I got an air dry. Leave me alone.
No, I think that's a cool thing about the sport. It's a very tight knitty, and for kids to be able to come up to players after the game, and most players are very responsive to that, and we were once in their shoes looking up to pro guys, so it's pretty unique in that sense, and I really like that about it. Hopefully it does grow to more of a bigger stage where guys can get compensated closer to other sports, but it's a slow growth, but I'm very fortunate to be able to play at the pro level and generate as much as I can.
Nice. So I guess this would be the time to address maybe the elephant in the room. The lacrosse world was split in two a couple of summers ago, with the PLL taking shape. What's you were just talking about, opportunities and stuff. So do you think this will be something that will work out long term? Do you think there could be two leagues, or do you think the lacrosse community's got to come together and figure out a solution?
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique. I keep saying unique for all this craziness we're going through, but it's a different world since the PLL started, and now there's two leagues, and it was a little crazy for a while. But different guys have different opinions on what they like. I personally I've enjoyed playing for Boston and being able to, I grew up watching the Cannons, and, my roommate's older brother, Max Manzani, was on the Cannons. And so I really always wanted to play for Boston. And a lot of guys like that hometown vibe. And, the PLL has done some really good things with their marketing and all that. So eventually it's going to have to get to the point of it being one league. When that is, who knows? But, I think a lot of it is just people trying to make this sport grow, and you can't hate that. But, there is a lot of negativity in especially on social media, with two leagues existing, which is just bizarre to me. A lot of it's just little kids chirping, but I guess that's
egos.
That's,
it's all about the egos.
yeah.
You just described social media perfectly.
Yeah, pretty much.
The world.
It's like
the
my
world we
idea
live
is
in.
better than yours, and if you don't like it,
Right.
I'm taking my toys away and making
Yeah,
my own. That's what it's all about. And you can look at any other professional sport; it had something like this as well.
Right. And I think sometimes people just love themselves a little too much, and that gets in their head. So I try to just ignore that stuff, and if someone tries to make comments, I just laugh at them, and it's not much you can do about it. But I wish that didn't exist in general. But no, it's a part of what we're going through as a sport. So it is what it is, and eventually, yes, I think there'll be one league.
Yeah, while you were talking, Nick, I was just thinking, football went through this with the AFL back in the 60s. The NBA went through this with the ABA. And
WHA.
hockey went through this. So, and they eventually merged and took some of the best things from both leagues. So maybe that's lacrosse's future too.
And the American League back in 1901 was a rival league to the National League. So,
True.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I don't think
Who knows what will happen.
I don't think that the differences in how it was all presented were as drastic as they are with the two lacrosse leagues, where you have with the Major League Lacrosse is a more traditional, team city. This is where we are, whereas the PLL is more of it's almost like a traveling circus or something. You barnstorm a town and play a bunch of games on a weekend, and then you take off and you go to another town and play a bunch of games on a weekend. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So
Yeah,
do you hear, is there any animosity or anything like that between the groups of players? I'm sure you all kind of know each other in both leagues, but is there any sort of ill will or, players chirping back and forth about either league? Or
I mean, hey, if you look at social media, you'll probably have your answer there. But I mean, for the most part, no. I don't think I really don't think there is. I mean, at least with the guys I'm playing with, it's just it's basically it's like you went and played for a different franchise. It's not the end of the world. We're all playing pro lacrosse. We're trying to keep playing this game as long as we can. But there's definitely guys that I like to chirp back. I have absolutely no idea. Maybe they like the drama, but yeah, it definitely exists. I'm sure you guys are there.
Well, you see, I would be ticked off if I was on a really good team, if I was a stud lacrosse player. Apparently, guys my age are still playing, so I would be annoyed if I had a really good team and a bunch of players left to go chase money or to go chase a pipe dream. I believe in loyalty, and I was one of the, I remember going to the first major lacrosse games back in 2001. And it was just such a great atmosphere. And they played in these small venues, it was kid friendly. And then somebody comes up with this great idea. And it's just going to ruin what has been building for the last 20 years. It's going to screw things up. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise because maybe it would be short term. But I would be annoyed. I would be very annoyed as a player.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely created a lot of unwanted, I don't know, tension, and it's been weird. But I mean, I think I can only speak for what we're doing, what the MLL is doing and has been doing. I think they have definitely done a really good job in stepping up their game in a lot of different areas. I mean, the Boston, if you've ever been to the Quincy games in Quincy, the new stadium, they've done a really good job of pumping up it being a great environment for young fans to go and really have a good time at the stadium in general, and then being able to watch an awesome lacrosse game. And they've stepped up their social media in this past season for, the scenario we were in with the bubble. So, it's all how you grow as a league. And, it sucks that there is a lot of negative, feedback both ways, because of there being two leagues, but it is what it is. And if there wasn't, I would have been shocked if there was no negativity, because that's just what people love to grab onto. But yeah, it's the hometown. I agree with you. The hometown vibe it's the best. You can't beat it without a home city. I absolutely love playing in Boston. It's the fact that it's Boston sports and I can chirp someone from New York. But that's just how it works, and I think that's how it's always going to work.
Nick, you mentioned the new stadium, and since this is the Stadium Journey podcast, I did want to get into the stadiums of the league a little bit.
Nice, me too.
You played you played for the Cannons for a few years, so you started when they were playing in Harvard Stadium, right? And you played the last year in Quincy in a much smaller place, something we talk about a lot on this podcast, having been to different places. I've actually seen the Cannons in 4 different places, by the way, is having the right size venue.
Right.
So can you compare what it was like to play in a big empty football stadium versus a 5,000-seat stadium that's packed and has kids running around all over the place, and just the change in atmosphere and what it means to players?
Yeah, I mean, so my first year being in Harvard was cool. Harvard Stadium's Harvard Stadium. It's an awesome venue and all that, but like you said, it's tough to, we're not filling up that stadium. So it's a little different when you look around and, there's areas of the stadium that are just empty. It was cool for a couple of games. There were a lot of people there, but overall it was different. So when we transitioned into playing at Quincy, I mean, they talked about it for a while of trying to find a venue that would be more intimate and, smaller, kind of sort of how Major League Soccer has done. And I thought that was a home run. They made some good renovations to the stadium, which was also great for the town. Brought a lot of people from Quincy to go to games, some of who weren't even lacrosse fans in general. And I think that created a really cool environment, while we were playing, but also just around the Cannons in general of people wanting to root for, Boston Cannons more. And in general, I mean, it was cool. They had a band at every game. They had different games for kids to play. They had all the shooting, whatever, fastest shot and all that fun stuff. So a lot of beer garden for all the parents who want to have a cold one. So it was definitely 10 times better being in Quincy. So they've got a good thing going.
And just don't do the beer garden before the fastest shot booth. It doesn't end well, trust me. Dave.
So as we're talking about venues, and Paul, I'm sure knows where I'm going with this. I have a huge pet peeve when it comes to field lacrosse, which I've never had to deal with in box lacrosse. Football lines. Watching field lacrosse, I absolutely can't stand the football lines. Probably the best lacrosse venue I went to for field was in what was the town? Obitz?
Ohio?
I think it was Obitz outside of Columbus, Ohio, where they had built really just a lacrosse only field. So how is it for you guys? Is it that much better without the lines, or do you even care? Or
honestly, I like the lines. Because I like being able to have indicators as a goalie And I've just always been used to that, I guess. So, yeah, it's never really bothered me. So I'm going to have to go against you there. I think the football Lions at least they suit me well. But I didn't think about the box thing. Well, that's not obviously not a thing. So, yeah, I guess it could be a little weird for box fans first watching field lacrosse.
Well,
I don't know. It's hard.
I think the big thing is that the lines are not the same on a football field versus a lacrosse field. So you have an extra set of lines. And of course, they're never dark enough. You're like, you got all these white lines and you're looking for like the one yellow one or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I think it'd be a little bit better maybe if the sidelines were the same as football lines, but of course they're not. So I just find it distracting. I hate watching with the football lines. So even when the playoffs were on and I texted Paul, hey man, look, no lines. I'm going to stay and watch now. No line.
I've been at games and gotten a text from Dave. I can't stand watching the game you're at. There's too many lines. And in Quincy, there's football lines, there's lacrosse lines, there's soccer lines.
Right.
Yeah. And there was a fourth color. I don't know what the fourth color was for, but yeah.
And then they got to throw in the 2-point line too, which is can be a pain in the butt to see at times.
But
so
overall,
it's really weird.
What you were saying about the vet, Nick, was amazing because I had actually been to the vet years ago. I had actually been there for, believe this, a marching band competition. My daughter was in like the flag twirlers there, and so I had to spend all day at the vet at a marching band competition, and it was miserable. And the place was built. The place was built in the 30s, so it looked like it was built in the 30s. But what the city of Quincy and what the Cannons did when they partnered to spruce up the arena, it just made it look fantastic, and it was a great place to catch a game at this past year, or
awesome.
2019, I should say.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get back to it so we can have some live games again at Quincy. But now I think they did a really good job with it. The stadium in general is pretty cool, but I think they have some cool plans going forward if things get back on track without COVID. To make some more renovations to the stadium. I've heard some cool rumors, but yeah, no, it's been great to play there. Fans like it, which is good. It's always nice to have a packed stadium and look around and it looks packed. So I've appreciated that too.
Now compare that to when you guys have to go to Denver and play at Mile High.
Oh my God!
Stadium. Have you guys ever been able to do the July 4th game, which I hear sells out every year?
I was just about to say that. So my first game I ever played was was it the July 4th game? Yeah, I think it was. So I think I played the game before, but I was backing up Tyler Fiorito. So the game before I didn't play at all. And then my dad went to every one of my Georgetown games throughout my career. So that next game, I was just like, you don't need to go to this game. I'm probably not gonna get in. Tyler was, he's been in the league forever. He's super talented. So I knew I was gonna have to wait a bit. But he was also really beat up. He had a lot of injuries, back problems, so he was ending his career. But we ended up going out to Mile High for a 4th of July game. There were, I think it was 40,000 people at the game because they did the whole fireworks, attracted a lot of people who were just in Denver to do all the fireworks and everything. So it was packed. We could barely hear. People were chirping from the stands. It was electric. It was sweet. I ended up getting thrown in, I think, the end of the second quarter. We were getting just destroyed in general. And I got absolutely torched. It was a bad game in general. We got blown out, but I vividly remember playing at Mile High for the 4th of July. There were a ton of fans, and they have some crazy fans. It was a cool experience, but my only memory was getting a lot of goals scored on me, unfortunately.
Well, try to block out the negative and
focus
on the good stuff. So I guess, how about the other places in the league? Is there any place that you particularly like to play, or even going back to college? What were some of your favorite places to go?
Um, Annapolis is always great. That stadium's just unbelievable. So you can't go wrong playing there. And being in Annapolis in general, it's a really, really cool vibe there. So I've always loved and enjoyed that. And being able to stay in Annapolis for the weekend is really cool. I'm trying to think of in college. UVA, that place is awesome. That was probably one of my top favorites. Georgetown just got a new stadium, so unfortunately I can't really talk about that one. I didn't get to experience that. In the MLL, I mean, it's probably got to be either Denver or Annapolis. I'm trying to think of who else has cool stadiums.
Well, you didn't get to see the new Connecticut place. They play at the new stadium,
Right.
Fairfield, right?
I heard that's really nice. Yeah,
I've been to the baseball park, which is it's tucked right almost underneath it. So it looks really nice. It's smaller. It's like 4,000 seats, but it looks nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
But I got to go with Annapolis. That place it's unreal.
Yeah, that always scores well when we do our football rankings. So it looks like a really great place.
Yeah, sure.
How about other sports? What other sports are you into, or places you like to go visit? I know you're a big hockey fan. I saw that on one of your videos.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge hockey fan. I love hockey. I played up until college, so yeah, hockey's my number one. Big Bruins fan. I go to a ton of games, so that's my favorite. I've been to a few hockey stadiums throughout the years. I'm trying to think of what a good one. We made a trip. Me and my dad made a trip out to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So we went out to Detroit for a game, Pittsburgh for a game. Pretty cool. So I've been to quite a few, but being at a Bruins game, that was the best. Not biased at all.
No argument there for me, that's for sure.
Well, you notice he didn't say he went to a Leaf game when they were at the Hockey Hall of Fame, which was why they were able to pay, to get back home. Otherwise, they would have been like stuck here doing dishes or something for those crazy prices.
So true.
We would have converted him. We would have had him as a box lax goalie.
I'm kind of upset you took my question earlier, Dave.
No chance. I wish I had gotten into box lax as a field player and done a Blaze Reard and played field goalie. And then he plays odds in box. So I should have done that. The guy's a beast.
So do you have much in the way of how would anybody develop into a box lax player in the States? Like up here we have junior teams, and a lot of players will either go right to the National Lacrosse League from junior, or then they'll go to college, play field. But do you have much indoor lacrosse outside of the pros down there? Or?
Honestly, not really. I didn't really know much about it at all until I got to college. I knew what it was, but we didn't really have much experience as far as being able to play it outside of field, which is unfortunate because I think it definitely is. It's great for players if they want to play, box at the pro level or develops awesome stick skills clearly college, and then obviously playing with a bunch of Canadian guys who were also playing the box game. So I think they really need to do a better job of growing box in the U.S. I was actually working for this company, Trilogy Lacrosse, for a year, and they started doing a box lacrosse winter league, and then we had a box team. So that was pretty cool to be a part of it, and they did a really good job. Ryan Boyle and Mitch Balawa, and were the two guys who were leading that, and they had a lot of experience with it too. So, but other than that, it's tough to find.
And recently, both of the leagues, the National Lacrosse League and Major League Lacrosse, have done a better job of lining up their schedules. So it's a little bit easier for players to do both than it was in the past, where you had to choose one, and then you're missing like a third of a season in the other one. Or
that was always tough, because we had some of our top guys who had to miss a first few games because they were in the playoffs or box. So that was always pretty frustrating. And I'm glad that they've figured it out, because it's been really helpful. And then there's also been a bunch of box guys who just weren't playing, didn't want to play field because it interfered, and they wanted to, they didn't want to play unless they're going to get a full season in. So one guy, Riley O'Connor, who I actually played with at Georgetown, he was a senior when I was a freshman. He just started playing field again this past season. So he was on our team this season, played a big role, had a bunch of huge goals for us, and was part of the championship team. So that was especially cool for me, being former teammates and everything. But I mean, they need to keep that going and try to figure out ways for there to be more, especially box guys playing field on top of it.
Yeah, Dave, you're absolutely right. I've never heard of anybody playing box lax in this area of the country, and this is one of the biggest lacrosse areas in the United States. So maybe we need to start something up, the U.S. Box League or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
I've got so much capital laying around. I'll just.
I honestly wish I had gotten into it, because it's super fun, and all the guys who play absolutely love it. And I like the physical part of it. You can toss the gloves if you need to. So, I mean, it's a cool game. So they need to keep it growing.
I was just going to ask you, Nick, if you've been in any battles on the lacrosse field.
I'll tell you what, I do chirp a lot. That's just I won't cross the line by any means, because that's just, I'm not going to talk about family or anything like that. But I do chirp quite a bit. But I've never dropped the gloves just because I get suspended. But nor probably would I drop the gloves. As a goalie, it's probably not the smartest move, but it's pretty cool. You can do it in box. I mean, there's some absolute beasts though.
Yeah, I've seen some good battles. Yeah, you don't have your skates to worry about, so if you get hit, it's your balance is better, I guess, when you're throwing punches. Hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully, if I was throwing punches, it would look like, I don't know what it would. So yeah, Nick, we're coming up on an hour now, so we don't want to keep you all night. So maybe this is where we can wrap it up. And thank you for coming on and talking with us. It's been a lot of fun. Before you take off, do you want to? You were talking about some other side ventures. Do you want to give it a little shout out, some promotion for your other stuff going on?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, thank you guys for having me on. This is awesome. Love what you guys are doing. So I'll make sure to keep tuning in. And yeah, I mean, me and Sean Quirk, coach of the Cannons, we started this lacrosse company called Peak Pro. We launched about 3 weeks before the season started. We've always been super into the lacrosse gear, and specifically started the idea with goalies, with somewhat of a lack of certain types of gear that is adequate. And we ended up starting by manufacturing lacrosse shafts. So we have 3 different types of shafts on the market right now, along with a bunch of pretty cool apparel. And we had 6 guys using the shafts throughout the MLL season this year, which was great. They all loved using it. And so far so good, and have a few other products we're going to be releasing in the next probably next 4 months or so. So it's venture we're exploring, and weird time to be starting a company like that with everything going on with COVID. It's tough with no events and all that, but no, it's been great. So you can check it out at peakprosport.com is the website, and the same thing for social media, Peak Pro Sport. So feel free to check it out. Let me know what you guys think, and looking forward to it.
All right, sounds great. It's hard to believe now. I'm hyped up for lacrosse, but we've got no lacrosse now for at least 4 months. Hopefully, in 4 months, the college season will start back up again. I
sure hope it does. I'm gonna be really bummed if it doesn't. I was looking forward to watching some good games this year.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it was a rough spring last year without any games to go to.
Yeah, it's brutal. I can't imagine being a senior in college. That's brutal.
Yeah, and those guys aren't even getting an extra year of eligibility, are they? They just lost a whole year.
I thought they some of them could, except for the Ivy League kids.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure because a few of them took a fifth year, but still, it's craziness having to do that.
Yeah, I really feel for the guys who are seniors in college and high school. Yeah. So, Nick, all right, thanks for joining us and coming on, and best of luck to you and the Cannons next season. Let's go for a repeat, huh?
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me on, and hopefully maybe we can do it again sometime. But good talking to you guys. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Nick. Thanks so much. Okay, that was Nick Marrocco from the Boston Cannons. We want to thank him very much for joining us tonight. That was a lot of fun, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. So this is usually the part of the show where we recap our visits over the last fortnight. I love throwing that word in. It's a fancy word.
Me too. Fortnight. It's a great word. It's a great game, too.
2 weeks. It doesn't mean video game. It means 2 weeks, people.
I know what Fortnite is. It's also
I'm not talking to you, Dan. I'm talking to anyone who may not know. The more you know. The more you know. But, lately we haven't had a whole lot of visits to talk about. But this week we do. Mark, you hit the road.
Yes, I went down to Louisville to watch Louisville City at Lynn Family Stadium, their brand new, modern, soccer-specific venue along the Ohio River in Butchertown. Louisville City is a USL Championship side. Butchertown. Butchertown was dead, though. Things were closed. But
get it? Butcher, dead.
There was a lot, there was a lot going on inside the stadium. It was the first round of the playoffs, and Louisville City did not disappoint. About 4,000-plus people there. They won 2-0. And I just have to say, it was just wonderful being at a stadium. I know we were on here a few weeks ago, and, we were talking about, man, when's the next event I'm going to go to? Dave hasn't been to any event since February.
And, our end of the year show is going to be awesome.
End of the year show is going to be, yeah. So
20 minutes? It'll be a quick one that week.
I actually think it'll be fun. I've got some questions planned.
Well, hopefully we did a lot at the beginning of the year. But what I like to see is when a second division club builds its own stadium. It seats about 8,000. They allowed 4,000 in. They didn't have the outdoor activities or the pregame concerts. Their supporter group, the Coopers, did not march in like they normally do. But their supporter section, they had drums, they had banners, they had smoke after they scored. It was just a cool experience. I think I just loved the fact that the weather was nice. I got down there a little bit earlier to check out things in Louisville, which unfortunately had a lot going on recently with the Breonna Taylor case. And
you weren't there when that was going on, were you?
No, I wasn't. But you did see a lot of stores boarded up, and certain parts of town were not as active as other parts of town, and that also could be with COVID. But this is a really wonderful soccer venue, and if every USL Championship or NISA or USL League 1 or 2 can build stadiums, I'm not saying they have to build an 8,000-seat stadium. They could just build their own soccer facility. I mean, the world would be a perfect place. I don't want to watch soccer played in some dumpy old stadium unless they're renovating it. I don't want to see it at a AAA ballpark. because the sightlines are terrible. I mean, you were so close at the north end of this stadium. I mean, you can almost touch the guy kicking the corner kick. I mean, you were up close and personal. They have a 3-sided screen that gives you every kind of detail and information you want. The food was good. They have a bunch of outdoor bars there. There's an airplane ahead of me, landing close to the airport near me right now. So it was just a fun environment. And it was, like I said, it was only half filled. God, I can imagine what that's going to be like when it is packed. And Louisville usually does well. They've been around, I think, for 5 years, and this is their 5th year. 2 championships, one finalist appearance. And if they win out, they'll get to host throughout the conference and maybe the championship game, depending if they have the better record than Reno. So, a lot of fun. And I want to go check out another soccer game. Yeah, like St. Louis is nearby, but they're playing in Louisville next week, so can't do that.
Yeah, you were talking about the USL. Hartford did that. They renovated an old stadium that was probably going to get torn down.
Yeah, Dillon.
Yeah, which is pretty historic back in the day. I know, like the Grateful Dead are known for playing there a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had the old bicentennials of the North American Soccer League play there at one point. But yeah, that's what you like to see. You like to see people put some money, and that's what Nick was talking about. What they did up in Quincy. It looks like that was just a very basic. That was a high school stadium, correct?
Yeah.
And they're renovating it and looks like they're having success up there. It'd be great if more places did that. I know it costs money. It's very easy for me to say. I'm not paying for it, but it could have its benefits with people with big pockets.
Absolutely. So, and if for these mid-sized ones, like you said, if you can use them for more than one thing, you renovate the stadium and high schools can use it. Different programs, and then it starts to pay for itself. So.
Yeah.
So speaking of soccer and Hartford, I don't know if you guys saw Toronto FC not allowed to jump back and forth over the border. So their temporary home is now at Rentschler Field in Hartford. So when they scored,
I know
Brass Bonanza. Which was so awesome.
So, Dave, what is if Toronto can't jump back and forth? What is Montreal and Vancouver doing?
Vancouver is playing all of their home games, quote unquote, in Portland, and Montreal is playing at Red Bull Arena. So none of them are hopping the border. They did have a bunch of games, like after the big tournament. It's not very loud.
All right, I didn't want to make it too loud.
Oh, is that Brass Bonanza?
Oh, okay.
After the big tournament, they kind of had another sort of subsection of the season. So all the Canadian teams played each other a couple times, right? So they got through all of those, and then kind of the last part before the playoffs, they basically found temporary homes in the States. So. But yeah, Brass Bonanza. I'm not sure how many people got it when they were watching, but it was pretty cool to see.
Well, they probably got to hear Brass Bonanza more often at a soccer game than they did at a Whalers game.
A couple times at least that one game. And hey, Supporter Shield FC is in the top spot at the moment, so good stuff.
All right, so I guess that wraps up our visits for this week. One.
Well, the Colts are allowing fans in, so who knows? Maybe
the Eagles are going to allow fans this Sunday too. Yeah. So
it's creeping up to the Northeast. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
I think we know a couple of people who are doing some baseball over the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I know a guy who's down in Texas at the game now.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's weird that they mixed it up. The NLDS is in Dallas. The ALDS is in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And there's fans allowed at both of those, or just in Texas?
I think just Texas. I don't think there's anybody in San Diego.
And then the World Series will be at the new Rangers ballpark, and fans will be allowed. I think 12,000 fans.
I think that's a California thing because the Dolphins played the 49ers this weekend, and there was nobody at the stadium in Santa Clara.
Yeah. Well, that's like up here. We can't have fans at any games. Unless all the participants are under 18, then you can't have fans. Who knows?
That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
No, it doesn't.
Strange
And how about Florida?
times.
Did all of Florida, or was it just the Dolphins? They got okayed for full crowd?
That was at a state level. So
Right, so anybody in Florida, huh?
Yep. Now, did you see the news today?
No.
Florida Gators are pressing pause on Florida or on football because they've had so many cases. Yeah, they just announced that today.
Ooh.
And they're ranked like number 10 right now in the country.
It's
19 positive tests.
Wow.
Okay, when the heck is this all going to be over and we can get back to watching games and not wondering?
Speaking of reading books, Dave.
Speaking of reading books, that's all I'm doing. That's the ultimate segue.
I'm getting sweaty over here.
Finished a good one the other day, right?
I did, yeah. You know, you're talking about trips. I kind of felt like I went on a trip, actually. I felt like I went on a trip for the longest baseball game in history. No, that was thanks to Paul for the recommendation. I finished the bottom of the 33rd by Dan Barry. And yeah, wow, it was pretty excellent. I think about a third in, I sent Paul a message. I said, "You didn't tell me this was poetry." Like, just the way it was written, it just flowed, and it just had, you know, he just created this romanticism about this horrible situation in this horrible place, and everybody's miserable.
Horrible day, Easter Sunday, middle of the night. It was about 30 degrees out, wind blowing in from center field, 10, 12 people in the stands. If you ever come to Rhode Island and you ask people about it, thousands of Rhode Islanders were at that game. No, it was like 12.
Yeah. They said that the last count, 19 people, 19 people left is it's somewhere. They say somewhere between 28 and 19, but
at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, 4:30.
Would you guys stay at a ball game until 4:30 in the morning?
I don't think I would. No.
Mark, I think you would.
I know I probably wouldn't, but wow. If I got there late, if I got there during the ninth inning, maybe.
Longest game you've ever been to, everybody. Longest game you've ever been to?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, geez. Like, time-wise?
No, innings-wise.
Oh, innings-wise. That 19, you stayed till the
19
end?
19 for me, twice.
No,
That you stayed to the end?
Yeah.
Maybe
Not
12.
Sure. I would say probably at 12.
I think the Mets and Phils played a crazy game one time down at the Vet. But, yeah, I can't. Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, even as a Philly fan, 4 hours for me is my limit at the Vet.
Yeah. Well, because you're always with somebody. We have to go.
Well, that would be the other thing. Am I there with my wife? And which one of us would make the other one leave? I don't know. Different nights, different person.
I can tell you this. There was one day I went to a Hagerstown Suns game in the afternoon, and then I went to Fredericton for a late evening, and then I drove by Wilmington, and their lights were still on, and I saw fans. That game was in extra innings. I'm not quite sure when, but I was there long enough to see about 3 innings, and it was a Sunday night around 10, 9 o'clock at night. So
Beautiful.
I found that fascinating.
Isn't that the best thing? Drive by. Hey, there's a game going on.
There's a game?
Yeah, no, it was a great one, and you know, I was stuck in my basement for 2 weeks after there was a positive test at my school, so I had to self-isolate for 2 weeks in the basement. So yeah, I just to get Dan riled up again, you know, here's the question for you.
We just got to calm down.
If you ever wonder what it would have been like if Donald Trump had actually run or owned a major sports franchise, like we saw it, because we lived it in Toronto. I finished a biography of Harold Ballard. Oh my gosh. It's like, I think Donald Trump read this book before he became the president.
He doesn't read. No, he didn't. He doesn't read. Those pictures at the hospital of him signing papers that were blank? Get out of here.
Anyway, That's what that was my trip.
How's that for triggered? You like that?
Yeah, from that bottom of the 33rd book, Dave, my favorite story is the one of the relief pitcher who went home after the game. And it was, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. His wife wouldn't let him in the apartment because she didn't believe he was at the ballpark that late.
Well,
that sounds like
that guy got special permission to leave early because he was already in, and they thought they might need him the next day. So at probably about 2, he got a ride home, and the wife, he was a Latino guy, and the wife said, you're lying. You weren't at a baseball game. You were out partying.
He had to call the ballpark or something.
Yeah. No, lots of really interesting stories. If you boil it down, like if you make it totally simplified, it was essentially a where are they now story, but it was just brilliantly written so that it felt like so much more. And if you need to read something about like big names, there were big names there. There was
Cal Ripken was in that game.
Cal Ripken Jr. and Wade Boggs and a bunch of guys that went to that World Series in 86.
Yep, Marty Barrett was part of that team.
Marty Barrett, Rich Gedman, Bruce Hurst,
yep. Bobby Ojeda.
Yeah, quite a few names, but those weren't really the interesting ones.
Heck is this?
I don't want to share the whole thing. There was one other person who had a very interesting role in the whole thing. But definitely worth it. Definitely worth the read.
Right. So that's where we'll say goodbye for now. Dan, where can our listeners follow you online?
DanLaw83, and take those replies about what I said and just throw them at a brick wall because I'm just going to mute you.
Dan, you have a trip coming up? I saw something you put on Twitter.
Going to Wilkes-Barre.
This is your fault, Paul. So when some complains, it was Paul Baker's fault. Yes, I will be finally getting some pork roll.
Hey.
I'm traveling up to Jersey. We're off the as far as I know, Virginia's off the quarantine list anyway. So I'm going to go up, get some pork roll, and then come home. Visit family, of course.
A trip 6 months in the making.
I mean, this is the longest streak it's ever been to not visit Jersey. Just visit family. That's the
hard part people don't think about it. So many people have been separated from their families for this whole time.
Well, let's not get hasty. After about a day, I'm good. But
still, no, I feel you.
People are like, you're just coming for the pork roll. I'm like, well, I'm not going to hide it. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, how about you? Where can our listeners follow you online?
Just type in Ballpark Hunter on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. You can check out my videos. This week's video featured me up in Kenosha. Check out the home of the Kenosha Kingfish of the Northwoods League. A lot of fun watching those videos from the past few years. A lot of this was pre-COVID. But, yeah, just type in Ballpark Hunter. Hopefully you'll find something of interest, and hopefully I can keep up with some of the videos I'm trying to make and articles. I'm working on them. I got that teaching job I got to do in between.
Damn life gets in the way, doesn't it?
I'm not home all day just vegging out, writing articles. The good old days.
Well, we knew when you were because you were putting out like 4 or 5 a day.
I know. I'm slipping. But I got a few coming out the next month.
Nice. Dave, where can our listeners follow you online?
On Twitter at ProFan9, got a plethora of reviews because I was just sitting at home stuck in my basement. So I got all caught up, and I think I'm going to have like about 5 days in a row.
Yeah, you got a whole week's worth of things in a row. So
Stadium Journey website could be going under after, a full solid week of my book reviews. ProFan9.
Yeah, ProFan9. And you can follow my Stadium Journeys when they start happening again on Twitter or Instagram at PuckmanRI. And once again, don't forget to check out our website, stadiumjourney.com. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Stadium Journey. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find our podcast at vocnation.com or search VOC Nation Radio Network on whatever podcast app you use. And remember, for those of you who already aren't watching us, was that proper English? I don't think so, but you know what I mean. We simulcast live every other Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern at twitch.tv/danlaw83. We're going to return in 2 weeks. That would be October 27th. And our topic will be, Dave, what's our topic? I forget.
What is it?
Oh, memories of McCoy.
Oh, McCoy Stadium. Nice.
Yeah.
Memories of McCoy. I have a YouTube video of that.
Beautiful. We'll attach it somehow.
So the three of us are going to sit here and listen to Paul.
Listen to me
on.
wax.
I'm not even going to plug in my microphone. I'm just going to produce.
Just make sure that Pam sends you with Kleenex, buddy.
Yeah, that's going to be. I may have to get drunk before we.
We're making fun of you, but when they tore the Spectrum down, and when I say they tore the Spectrum down, I mean they used the big medicine ball and did it. Not a medicine ball, a
Wrecking ball.
wrecking ball. That's it. Yeah, sure, medicine ball, whatever. They did it slowly. So I mean, there were tears flowing. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
I feel you, Paul. Dave, you mean person?
Well, I think they'll play something at McCoy. It's not going away, correct?
I hope not. They haven't announced it yet, so we don't know.
Well,
Product of the uncertain times we're in right now.
Well.
All right. So thanks once again to Nick Marrocco for joining us tonight. For Dan Colachico, Mark Viquez, and Dave Cotney, I'm Paul Baker. Until next time, be excellent to each other.